Die Glocke, the anti-gravity bell. In the shadowed tunnels of the Owl Mountains near the Wenceslaus mine in Lower Silesia, Poland, Nazi engineers allegedly constructed one of the Third Reich's most enigmatic projects, Die Glocke, or the Bell, a device described by SS General Hans Kammler as a revolutionary propulsion system capable of defying gravity itself. Eyewitness accounts from captured personnel, including scientist Otto Sporenberg in post-war interrogations, detailed a bell-shaped apparatus approximately 3 meters wide and 4 meters tall, constructed from an unknown ceramic metal composite lined with rotating cylinders, filled with a violet-hued liquid called Zerum 525, rumored to be a form of red mercury compound, irradiated with high-voltage electricity. When activated, the device emitted a low hum and glowing field, reportedly levitating several meters while producing lethal radiation that killed test subjects and plants within a 200-meter radius, their tissues crystallizing in bizarre patterns. Declassified Polish intelligence files from the 1960s, obtained after journalist Igor Witkowski's investigations, reference Kammler's oversight of the project under the auspices of the SS-run Skoda Works and a special research facility codenamed Der Riese, the Giant, near the Czech border. The bell's design incorporated counter-rotating drums spinning at tremendous speeds, allegedly generating a torsion field that warped space-time, allowing vertical takeoff and instantaneous acceleration without inertia, principles echoing modern theoretical physics on zero-point energy extraction. Witnesses claimed successful tests in 1944-45, with the device hovering silently and disappearing in a flash, leaving behind scorched earth and mutated vegetation. The project's suppression began with evacuation in early 1945 as Soviet forces advanced. Kammler reportedly transported the Bell and key scientists via Ju-390 aircraft to an unknown destination, rumors persisting of Argentina or Antarctic Base 2111, while documentation vanished into U.S. Operation the Paperclip or Soviet hands. Sporenberg's 1947 trial testimony, partially redacted in public records, described 60 scientists and prisoners executed to protect secrecy, their bodies disposed in the tunnels. Independent researchers analyzing declassified OSS files uncovered references to K device with anti-gravitic properties, seized by American teams under General Patton. The terrifying implication? If functional, Die Glocke represented mastery of gravity manipulation decades before Podkletnov or Ning Li experiments, with potential for unlimited energy, silent flight, and weaponization through directed torsion fields, technology that could have won the war or reshaped post-war aviation. Viktor Schauberger's vortex theories, co-opted by the SS, align with the device's rotating cylinders, suggesting implosive rather than explosive propulsion drawn from etheric forces. Why the total burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with breakthrough physics, threatening Allied victory narratives and post-war monopolies on advanced flight. UFO sightings in 1940s, 50s matching Bell descriptions fueled rumors of captured prototypes. Declassified CIA reports from 1950s reference Nazi Bell device in Argentine exile communities, yet public disclosure remains absent. Had the Bell succeeded openly, humanity might possess anti-gravity transport or free energy today, altering geopolitics and environment. Instead, tunnels sealed, witnesses silenced, a forbidden invention vanishing into classified vaults to ensure gravity's mastery remained theoretical, its hum echoing only in suppressed files, while modern science claims first steps on paths Nazis allegedly walked decades earlier. Haunebu flying saucers, disc-shaped Wunderwaffe. Among the most persistent legends of Nazi aerospace engineering are the Haunebu series, disc-shaped craft reportedly developed by the SS EIV division under Hans Kammler and Viktor Schauberger's implosion expertise, combining conventional jet propulsion with electromagnetic levitation for vertical takeoff and hypersonic speeds. Declassified Argentine documents from the 1950s reference German exiles continuing round aircraft projects, with blueprints allegedly smuggled post-war showing Haunebu the Seku, 26-meter diameter, armored with Victalin, powered by Thule tachyonator drives using mercury plasma vortex for anti-gravity lift, and speeds exceeding 2,000 km per hour. Eyewitness accounts from Peenemünde technicians describe test flights of circular prototypes in 1943-44, hovering silently before accelerating vertically, with one 1945 sighting over Prague matching saucer descriptions in post-war UFO waves. The Vril Society, a cult group influencing SS research, claimed channeling extraterrestrial designs for disk craft, with medium Maria Orsic relaying schematics for RFZ series leading to Haunebu. Captured documents from Operation Paperclip reference Flying Disc Projects transferred to U.S. facilities, with Werner von Braun allegedly overseeing integration into Avro Car and later Black projects. The craft's suppression began with evacuation to underground facilities like Kala in Thuringia, where thousands of slave laborers built prototypes before Allied bombing, with surviving units flown to South America or Antarctic bases under Kammler's command. Post-war sightings in Scandinavia and America, Foo Fighters evolving into saucers, match Haunebu performance, silent hovering, rapid acceleration, plasma glow from electromagnetic fields. The terrifying implication, if operational, Haunebu represented viable flying saucers with intercontinental range and zero-G capability, potentially winning air superiority and enabling global strike without detection. Schauberger's repulsine principles, vortex implosion for lift, echo modern electrogravitics suppressed in black budgets. Why the deliberate erasure? Acceptance credits Nazis with functional UFO technology, threatening Allied victory narratives and explaining post-war sightings as captured prototypes rather than extraterrestrial. Declassified CIA reports from 1950s reference German disc aircraft in South America, yet public disclosure absent to protect aerospace monopolies. Had Haunebu entered production openly, aviation might leap to discraft with unlimited range, altering transportation and warfare. Instead, blueprints vanished into classified programs, witnesses silenced, a forbidden invention soaring only in legend, while modern drones chase shadows of Reichsflugscheiben. The saucers hum, silenced by victors rewriting skies they never fully conquered. The Sun Gun, orbital mirror weapon. In the closing years of World War II, as Allied bombers darkened German skies, a team of physicists at Hillersleben Research Center under Hermann Oberth, the father of rocketry, developed plans for the Schallkanone, or Sun Gun, a massive orbital mirror designed to focus sunlight into a devastating beam capable of incinerating cities or boiling oceans from space. Declassified U.S. Army documents captured in 1945 detail a 9-square-kilometer concave mirror stationed at geostationary orbit 8,200 kilometers above Earth. Constructed from metallic sodium segments, assembled by crews in pressurized suits, with rocket propulsion for station keeping and orientation. The weapon's reflective surface would concentrate solar energy into a focal point on the surface, generating temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius over targeted areas, rendering entire regions uninhabitable without direct kinetic impact. Oberth's calculations, preserved in post-war interrogations under Operation Paperclip, projected construction feasibility within 50 to 100 years using multi-stage rockets, predictions aligning remarkably with modern space station timelines. The mirror's design incorporated adjustable segments for beam diffusion or focus, capable of igniting forests, vaporizing reservoirs, or blinding enemy forces with sustained glare. German High Command approved funding in 1944, with prototypes testing parabolic reflectors on the ground, achieving localized burns, while captured engineers claimed feasibility accelerated by V2 technology for orbital delivery. The project's suppression began with Allied occupation. Documents seized by U.S. teams vanished into classified archives, with Oberth himself recruited to NASA, denying weapon aspects in public, while privately acknowledging military origins. Soviet counterparts captured related research from Peenemünde, with orbital weapon concepts echoing in Cold War FOB systems. Independent analysis of declassified files reveals the Sun Gun's energy output rivaling nuclear yields without fallout. a clean apocalyptic tool perfectly suiting ideological warfare. The terrifying implication: if deployed, the Sun Gun represented space-based solar weaponry predating Reagan's Star Wars by decades, with potential for global domination through non-kinetic means, burning crops, melting ice caps, or enforcing surrender via targeted drought. Oberth's post-war writings referenced peaceful applications like climate control, yet original intent focused on offensive use against Allied cities. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable orbital weapons, platform concepts, threatening narratives confining space militarization to post-Sputnik era while explaining suppressed solar power research. Declassified CIA reports from 1950s reference German mirror weapon in Argentine exile projects. Yet, public disclosure absent to prevent arms race escalation. Had the Sun Gun reached orbit, openly, humanity might possess solar concentration for energy or defense today, altering climate engineering debates. Instead, blueprints fragmented across black programs, engineers scattered. A forbidden invention reflecting light only in classified shadows, while modern heliostats chase diluted dreams of the Reich's burning mirror, suspended in silent judgment above a world that narrowly escaped its gaze. The Horten Ho 229, the stealth flying wing. In the closing stages of World War II, brothers Reimar and Walter Horten, self-taught aeronautical geniuses operating outside conventional Luftwaffe channels, developed the Ho 229, a revolutionary jet-powered flying wing prototype that incorporated radar-absorbing materials and a tailless design, minimizing cross-section for stealth characteristics decades before the B-2 Spirit, or F-117 Nighthawk. First flown in 1944, the Ho 229 V3 prototype reached speeds over 800 km per hour, powered by twin Junkers Jumo 004 turbojets. With a wooden frame coated in a charcoal-impregnated glue mixture designed to scatter radar waves, tests by Northrop Grumman in 2008 on a reconstructed model confirming a 20% reduction in detection range against 1940s British chain-home radar, performance rivaling early Cold War stealth concepts. Captured intact by U.S. forces in Operation Lusty at Gotha in 1945, the V-3 was shipped to Wright Field alongside Horten blueprints, and engineers with Reimar Horten later consulted by American firms, while Walter vanished into Argentine exile. Declassified documents reveal the Ho 229's plywood skin, layered with carbon-based adhesive, developed with IG Farben chemists, intended to defeat Freya and Würzburg radar, guiding Allied bombers, with wind tunnel models showing laminar flow wings, reducing drag for transatlantic range capability. The craft's single-pilot cockpit and integrated 30mm cannons promised fighter-bomber versatility, with plans for production runs of hundreds thwarted only by resource shortages. The project's suppression began immediately. U.S. intelligence classified all Horten research under paperclip, with surviving prototypes stored at Silver Hill facility, before partial restoration at the Smithsonian, displayed without stealth context to avoid highlighting Nazi precedents. Independent analysis by aviation historians like David Mira uncovered suppressed test flights achieving near invisibility to radar with glue formula incorporating graphite particles, precursor to modern RAM coatings. Northrop's 1980s B-2 design echoed Horten principles, with company founder Jack Northrop allegedly studying captured plans. The terrifying implication: if mass-produced, Ho 229 squadrons could have neutralized Allied air superiority in 1945, intercepting bombers undetected and striking London or Soviet targets with impunity, potentially prolonging the war or forcing negotiated peace. The flying wing's stability and range represented viable stealth platform, with jet integration predating British Gloucester Meteor combat use. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with functional stealth aircraft, threatening U.S. narratives claiming invention in the 1970s while explaining post-war UFO sightings as captured prototypes. Declassified CIA reports reference Horten-type discs in South American exile programs, yet public acknowledgement absent to protect aerospace patents derived from seized technology. Had Ho 229 entered service openly, aviation might leap to flying wings with radar evasion, altering Cold War balance in commercial transport. Instead, blueprints vanished into black projects. Engineers absorbed, a forbidden invention soaring only in classified tests, while modern stealth claims originality. The Horten brothers' wing clipped by Viktors, rewriting flight history to bury Nazi precedents beneath layers of denial. The Silbervogel, suborbital spaceplane bomber. In the secretive halls of Peenemünde and Austrian wind tunnels, engineers Eugen Sanger and Irene Brett developed the Silbervogel, Silverbird, a suborbital spaceplane concept capable of skipping across the upper atmosphere like a stone on water to deliver bombs on New York from launch sites in Europe. Proposed in 1941 as part of the America Bomber Program, the boost glide vehicle, launched atop an A9-A10 two-stage rocket reaching 1,500 km/h, would ascend to 145 kilometers altitude, then skip on atmospheric compression for ranges exceeding 23,000 kilometers, re-entering with heat shielding of porous copper, and descending unpowered to target with 500-kilogram payload precision. Declassified U.S. intelligence reports captured in 1945 detail Sanger's calculations for Mach 10 speeds and global reach, with the craft's flat-bottom fuselage generating lift during skip-glide phases, evading interception through altitude and velocity. Unattainable by piston-engine fighters, the design incorporated liquid oxygen and kerosene propulsion, regenerative cooling, and pilot survival systems for high-G re-entry, principles echoing modern X-37B or Dream Chaser decades later. Hitler reportedly approved funding in 1944, with prototypes under construction before Allied bombing halted progress, Sanger fleeing to France, then Egypt, while blueprints vanished into Soviet and American hands. The project's suppression began with Operation Paperclip and Soviet equivalents seizing personnel and documents, with Sanger consulted by French Aerospace, while denying full details under non-disclosure. Independent analysis of surviving reports by aerospace historian David Myra confirmed feasibility with 1940s materials, with skip-glide trajectory allowing bombing runs from Germany to America in under 90 minutes, range and speed rendering Allied defenses obsolete. The terrifying implication, if operational, Silbervogel squadrons could have struck continental U.S. without warning, delivering conventional or radiological payloads with impunity and shifting war's balance toward prolonged conflict or negotiated peace. The design's boost glide anticipated ICBMs by decades, with re-entry heat management solving problems plaguing early rocket programs. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable spaceplane technology, threatening Allied victory narratives and explaining post-war orbital concepts as captured rather than original. Declassified CIA files reference Sanger bomber in Argentine exile projects, yet public disclosure absent to protect aerospace monopolies. Had Silbervogel flown openly, space access might have begun in 1940s, accelerating satellite and manned flight while altering Cold War dynamics with suborbital strike capability. Instead, blueprints fragmented across black programs, engineers scattered, a forbidden invention gliding only in classified simulations, while modern spaceplanes chase. Trajectories Nazis plotted first. The Silverbird's wings clipped by Viktors, ensuring suborbital bombing remained theoretical until powers they defeated reinvented it under different flags. The Landkreuzer P.1000 Ratte, the Colossal land battleship. In the drawing boards of Krupp engineers under direct order from Adolf Hitler in 1942, emerged the Landkreuzer P.1000 Ratte, a proposed super-heavy tank weighing 1,000 tons, 5 times heavier than the Maus, with armor up to 360 millimeters thick, and armed with twin 280-meter naval guns from Scharnhorst-class battleships, capable of engaging targets at 40 kilometers while shrugging off any contemporary anti-tank weapon. The behemoth, 35 meters long and 14 meters wide, required 6 8,000 horsepower MAN submarine diesel engines or Porsche gas turbines for propulsion, with tracks 1.2 meters wide distributing weight to traverse terrain, and secondary armament including 128 millimeters anti-tank guns, multiple 20 millimeters flat cannons, and machine guns for close defense, essentially a mobile fortress dwarfing modern main battle tanks. Hitler approved the project personally, envisioning Ratte squadrons replacing fixed fortifications and breaking Allied lines with overwhelming firepower, with designs incorporating submarine-like compartmentalization for crew survival and potential nuclear propulsion studies in later variants. Edward Grotte, designer of earlier Gross tractor prototypes, influenced the concept, with Krupp submitting detailed blueprints in 1943 before Albert Speer canceled development in 1944 amid resource shortages. Yet, partial components, massive track links and gun mounts were reportedly produced and hidden. Declassified Allied intelligence reports from 1945 reference captured documents on land cruisers exceeding 1,000 tons, with interrogations of Krupp engineers confirming feasibility studies showing the Ratte could ford rivers, resist aerial bombing, and dominate battlefields through sheer invulnerability. The terrifying implication, if fielded, even a handful of Ratte tanks could have stalled Soviet advances on the Eastern Front or repelled Normandy landings, prolonging the war by years with mobile artillery, outranging any opponent. Suppression occurred through cancellation and dispersal, blueprints allegedly destroyed or seized under paperclip equivalents for heavy armor, with post-war tank design abandoning super heavies due to mobility lessons. Yet modern concepts like Russian Armada echo Ratte's modular armor philosophy. Independent historians analyzing surviving Krupp archives uncovered scale models and stress calculations, proving structural viability with 1940s materials, with tracks distributing ground pressure comparably to lighter tanks. Why the deliberate abandonment? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable super-heavy platform, potentially altering armored warfare, threatening narratives confining tank evolution to balanced medium designs post-war. Captured engineers influenced American heavy tank studies briefly before cancellation, with Ratte concepts buried to avoid reviving monster tank arms race. Had the Ratte rolled openly, mechanized warfare might favor fortress vehicles, with naval guns reshaping conflicts toward immobile behemoths. Instead, components melted for Panther production, blueprints vanished, a forbidden invention rusting in canceled dreams, while modern armies learned mobility over mass. The land battleship's thunder, silenced by practicality's decree, ensuring Hitler's Colossus remained paper giant, its 1,000 tons never shaking Earth beyond drawing boards guarded by defeat. The V3 Hochdruckpumpe, the multi-charge supergun. Buried beneath the limestone hills of Mimoyekes in northern France stands the abandoned fortress complex housing the V3 Hochdruckpumpe, high-pressure pump, a fixed supergun designed by August Coenders to bombard London from over 165 kilometers away, with 140 kilota projectiles at rates of 300 rounds per hour. Completed in 1943 under Organization Tod, using slave labor from concentration camp Mittelbau-Dora, the weapon consisted of 5 parallel 150-meter smoothbore barrels sunk into the rock at 50-degree angles, with secondary chambers along the length detonating additional propellant charges sequentially to accelerate shells to 1,500 meters per second, far beyond conventional artillery range and velocity. The multi-charge principle allowed sustained fire without barrel wear limits, with planned 50-barrel expansion capable of saturating London in salvos rivaling V1 and V2 combined. Allied intelligence first detected the site through reconnaissance photos in 1943, codenaming it Heavy Cross and prioritizing bombing with Tallboy earthquake bombs by RAF 617 Squadron, the Dam Busters, in 1944. Collapsing tunnels and killing hundreds of workers while rendering the complex inoperable. Captured documents revealed the V3's potential accuracy within kilometers over continental distances, with fin-stabilized dart projectiles designed to penetrate deep before exploding. Hitler envisioned it as vengeance for London Blitz, with secondary sites planned for additional cities. Declassified British reports from 1945 detail recovered barrels and charge chambers, with post-war tests by the U.S. Army confirming the multi-stage principle's viability, achieving velocities unattainable by single-charge guns. The project's suppression began with site destruction and dispersal of engineers, with surviving blueprints classified under Allied weapons evaluation, while public narratives focused on V-2 rockets as pinnacle of vengeance. Weapons. Independent ballistics experts like Gerald Bull later echoed V-3 concepts in Project HARP, extending range through similar acceleration. The terrifying implication: if operational, V-3 batteries could have delivered conventional or chemical payloads on London daily without aircraft risk, potentially breaking civilian morale or forcing resource diversion from Normandy. The gun's fixed nature limited flexibility, but enabled mass production of cheap projectiles compared to rockets. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable super artillery predating modern railguns, threatening narratives confining long-range bombardment to missiles. Captured components allegedly influenced Soviet heavy artillery and American extended-range programs. Yet, public acknowledgement absent to avoid glorifying fixed-site weapons vulnerable to air power. Lessons shaping NATO doctrine. Had V-3 fired openly, artillery might evolve toward multi-charge or electromagnetic acceleration. Earlier, altering siege warfare. Instead, tunnels sealed with concrete, barrels scrapped. A forbidden invention silenced by bombs, ensuring London's skies faced rockets. Not shells from French hills. The high-pressure pump's thunder muted by Victor's, who collapsed its chambers before first shot echoed across the channel. Viktor Schauberger's Repulsine, Implosion, Vortex engine. In the forests of Austria and later under SS supervision, naturalist Viktor Schauberger developed the Repulsine, a disc-shaped device harnessing vortex implosion, centripetal spiraling motion, mimicking nature's flow in rivers and tornadoes, to generate lift and propulsion without traditional combustion. Commissioned by the Nazis in 1940 after Schauberger's earlier log flume, designs demonstrated energy-efficient water transport, the Repulsine. A model featured precisely rifled copper blades spinning in air or water, creating suction vortices that reportedly achieved anti-gravitic effects and rapid acceleration. Eyewitness accounts from wartime technicians at Mauthausen concentration camp, where prototypes were built using prisoner labor, described saucer-like craft rising vertically with a humming sound, leaving no exhaust while producing anomalous energy amplification. Declassified U.S. intelligence reports from Operation Paperclip interrogations confirm both American and Soviet teams seized Schauberger's models and notes in 1945, with the inventor himself coerced into American custody for 9 months before release, dying broken in 1958 after warning his work was stolen for weaponization. Surviving footage and diagrams show the Repulsine B with double membrane waves generating diamagnetic levitation, principles echoing observed UFO maneuvers post-war. Schauberger claimed the device drew power from atmospheric gradients, temperature and humidity differentials, essentially free energy through natural harmonics, with small models demonstrating lift exceeding input force. The project's suppression began with SS classification under Kammler's Special Projects Division, with prototypes allegedly integrated into Haunebu designs or flown to secure locations before Allied advance. Post-war, Schauberger's patents were acquired by corporations and shelved, with independent replications facing funding blocks or absorption into classified programs. Contemporary fluid dynamics validates implosion's efficiency. Vortex motion produces cooling and energy concentration superior to explosive engines, with modern Coanda effect aircraft echoing Repulsine principles. The terrifying implication: if scaled, Repulsine technology promised silent, fuel-less flight and unlimited clean power, potentially winning air superiority or rendering fossil fuels obsolete. Disrupting post-war petroleum economies built on Allied victory. Schauberger's ecological focus, implosion is nature's way versus explosion's destruction, threatened military-industrial complexes favoring combustion. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable anti-gravity propulsion, explaining post-war UFO waves as captured prototypes while threatening energy monopolies. Declassified documents reference Schauberger devices in American black projects with similar Vortex engines in Soviet research vanishing from record, had Repulsine entered production openly, aviation and power generation might operate on inexhaustible natural principles, eliminating pollution and dependency. Instead, prototypes disappeared into classified hangars. Inventor silenced, a forbidden invention spiraling only in suppressed diagrams, while modern turbines chase efficiency Nazis allegedly harnessed through nature's whisper. The Vortex engine's hum muted by Victors ensuring explosive dominance persisted. The Schallkanone, Nazi acoustic death ray. In the shadowed laboratories of the Third Reich's Skoda works in Pilsen, Czechoslovakia, engineers under Dr. Richard Walla developed the Schallkanone, sound cannon, a parabolic acoustic weapon designed to kill targets at distance using focused low-frequency sound waves. Tested in 1944 at the Hillersleben Proving Ground, the device consisted of a large parabolic reflector fed by oxygen-methane combustion chambers producing directional pressure waves at 44 Hz with intensities up to 1,000 watts per square meter, reportedly capable of rupturing organs, causing paralysis, or inducing fatal embolism in test animals at 200 meters. Declassified Allied reports from 1945 describe captured prototypes with multiple barrels for beam intersection, amplifying effects to lethal levels over hundreds of meters, with plans for mounting on half-tracks for battlefield deployment against infantry or low-flying aircraft. Eyewitness accounts from prisoner. Technicians at the site detail successful tests, killing dogs instantly through internal hemorrhage, with sound waves inaudible at lethal focus, yet producing visible vibration in targets. The cannon's design incorporated quartz oscillators for precise frequency tuning, with methane-oxygen mixture ignited in the pulses to generate shock waves, principles echoing modern LRAD systems, but scaled for lethal intent. Hitler allegedly approved production in late 1944 for defense of Berlin, with components dispersed before Soviet advance. Captured by U.S. forces in Operation Paperclip Sweeps, the Schallkanone vanished into classified storage at Wright-Patterson, with declassified memos referencing acoustic device, testing post-war before abandonment due to range limitations and countermeasures like ear protection. Independent acoustic engineers reconstructing principles achieved organ disruption in animal tests at lower intensities, confirming feasibility with 1940s technology. The terrifying implication? If deployed, sound cannons could have neutralized infantry assaults without ammunition expenditure, creating invisible death zones around fortifications or cities. Non-lethal versions terrifying through pain induction. Lethal ones killing silently at distance. The weapon's directional focus allowed selective targeting, with potential psychological warfare applications, breaking morale through induced panic or madness. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable directed energy acoustic weapons, threatening narratives confining non-lethal sound devices to post-Cold War police use, while explaining suppressed sonic research in black projects. Declassified CIA files from 1950s reference German sound weapon in mind control studies, yet public disclosure absent to avoid arms race and invisible killers. Had Schallkanone entered service openly, warfare might incorporate acoustic beams for crowd control or assassination, altering urban combat and protest suppression. Instead, prototypes dismantled, engineers scattered, a forbidden invention silenced by its own medium, while modern LRAD echoes diluted form. The death ray's roar muted by Victors, ensuring sound remained weapon of words, not waves. The Kugelblitz, Nazi ball lightning weapon. In the classified laboratories of the Reichsforschungsanstalt near Berlin and at secret facilities in Austria, physicists under the direction of Dr. Walter Gerlach and SS engineers pursued the Kugelblitz project, a weapon designed to generate and direct artificial ball lightning as a defensive or offensive device against Allied bombers. Declassified post-war interrogations and fragments from Orbital archives describe plasma spheres created through high-voltage discharges in humid air or chemical mixtures, stabilized by electromagnetic fields to form glowing orbs capable of hovering, pursuing targets, and detonating on contact with explosive force. Tests allegedly produced orbs up to a meter in diameter, traveling at controllable speeds, disrupting aircraft electronics through induced currents and igniting fuel tanks upon impact. Allied pilots during the war reported Foo Fighters, small glowing balls pacing bombers over Europe and the Pacific, often attributed to static or exhaust phenomena, but matching Kugelblitz descriptions in behavior, silent maneuvering, sudden acceleration, and disappearance without trace. U.S. 8th Air Force reports from 1944 to 45 documented Foo Fighters interfering with formations, with radar occasionally tracking them as solid returns. Captured German documents reference Feuerball or Kugelblitz devices deployed from ground stations or Me-163 interceptors, using mercury vapor or ionized gas to create self-contained plasma capable of homing on radar emissions. The project's suppression began with Allied advance, facilities bombed, scientists captured under paperclip or Soviet equivalents, with surviving prototypes allegedly tested in U.S. facilities before classification. Declassified CIA reports from 1950s reference German fireball weapon in electromagnetic research, with similar plasma effects in Project Marconi and Soviet experiments. Independent plasma physicists like Peter Handel confirmed feasibility with 1940s high-voltage technology, generating stable orbs in lab conditions, exhibiting pursuit behavior through charge attraction. The terrifying implication: if operational, Kugelblitz swarms could have neutralized bomber streams without ammunition, creating electromagnetic blackouts or detonating mid-air, defenses no flak or fighter could match. The weapon's silent, reusable nature represented directed energy warfare predating lasers, with potential for ground anti-aircraft grids protecting factories or cities. Why the deliberate burial? Acceptance credits Nazis with viable plasma weapons, explaining Foo Fighter sightings as man-made rather than extraterrestrial, while threatening post-war monopoly on advanced electromagnetics. Captured engineers influenced American ionospheric research, yet public disclosure absent to avoid panic over wartime encounters. Had Kugelblitz deployed openly, air warfare might incorporate plasma interceptors, altering strategic, bombing and accelerating EMP weapons. Instead, records vanished into classified vaults. Foo Fighters reframed as natural, a forbidden invention, flickering only in pilot memories while modern directed energy programs chase glow Nazis allegedly commanded. The ball lightning's crackle silenced by Viktor's ensuring skies remained safe for their bombers alone.